This video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Welcome to Electrified, it's your host Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Mark B. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Over the weekend, we got the new FSD Beta 10.11 release notes. I'm not gonna go over it in depth. Dr. Know-It-All did a good video covering some of the highlights. I just wanna point out one or two. This first one is important, and Andre Karpathy said that this was his favorite part of these release notes, where it's basically going from a bag of points to using vector space. Simply put, a bag of points is going pixel by pixel and frame by frame, detecting what each object is. Shifting to vector space is essentially limiting things in the image, saying this is a person, this is a car, this is a pedestrian, and then tracking those through the vector space. So this requires much less computational power and should result in more accurate predictions. As mentioned, I won't read through all of these. Go ahead and pause the screen if you would like to on your own. Here is a shot of the second page. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that a few of these release notes do actually mention things related to phantom braking. So hopefully in the next few weeks, the instances of phantom braking are significantly improved, but we'll have to wait and see. And referencing this version, Elon said, if this performs well, we can probably lower the minimum safety score to 95, which could effectively open this up to a wider audience. And a very important reminder, do not base your judgments on the status of FSD based on one or even a few YouTubers. This performance will vary widely depending on region and your specific driving scenarios, so be careful when you paint with broad brushstrokes on how well this is performing. Moving on here, I honestly do not know what to make of this tweet by Elon. So you can see this one here, and there's another one down here. Translated, this is the first one. I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat. Stakes are Ukraine. The second tweet translated, do you agree to this fight? And in that second tweet, he tagged the official Kremlin account. And I can't believe that I'm about to comment on something like this, but it's 2022, so I guess nothing should come as a surprise. If this were to ever go down, I'm taking Elon given his height advantage and his youth. However, people say that Vladimir has done some judo, but other people say that his skills are exaggerated. If this event were to be promoted, it would probably turn out to be one of the highest grossing pay-per-view events in history. However, I'm not going to comment on this any further. I just want to focus on Tesla. I'll throw it to you guys. What do you think about this whole situation?
He's a purple belt. That's really high.
Oh, I could beat up Dwight. It's ridiculous. I can murder him.
Elon also asked for some input and thoughts on inflation. Of course, Saylor jumped in and talked about Bitcoin. Elon laughably said, it's not entirely unpredictable you would reach that conclusion. What I wanted to share though, Elon said, as a general principle for those looking for advice from this thread, generally better to own physical things like a home or in stock in companies you think make good products than dollars when inflation is high. I still own and won't sell my Bitcoin, ETH, or my Doge for what it's worth. And for me personally right now, I'm just aggressively acquiring Tesla and Cardano. It's really that simple. However, for Tesla, Elon came out and said Tesla and SpaceX are seeing significant recent inflation pressure in raw materials and logistics. With that said, I essentially agree with what CNBC is saying. If any company is best positioned to handle this inflation scenario, it's 100% Tesla. They have brand power, they have the demand, they can raise prices and get away with it. They have the sourcing power that many other companies do not have, specifically when it comes to EVs. However, what you should be aware of is a drag on margins for Q1 and Q2. In addition to ramping at Giga Austin and Giga Berlin, margins were already expected to be compressed for these first two quarters, as Tesla mentioned on the Q4 call. And if you add in these exceptional inflationary pressures, we should reasonably expect margins for Q1 and Q2 to be lowered from where they were in Q4. Just as a frame of reference for expectations, they ended at 27.4% for total GAAP gross margin in Q4. This is a line that Wall Street will be watching very closely, and in my opinion, if Tesla posts anything even above 20% in Q1 and 2, I would personally be pleased with that, given all of the headwinds, like I said, with ramping Berlin and Austin, two factories at once, and everything going on with the supply chain and inflation. I think over 20% would be good. The point here, just temper your expectations for Q1 and Q2 earnings, and if they beat on the upside, then well done, and we're off to the races. In case you missed it, over the weekend, Tesla is introducing a new car pickup service, so far just at Berlin, essentially allowing customers to pick up their vehicle outside of regular working hours. This is awesome, allowing for much more flexibility and more efficiency. The customer can just show up at the delivery center, use their app, unlock their car, do the inspection, and then confirm delivery and drive away with their vehicle without needing a Tesla employee to do any of that process. So hopefully this eventually comes to the States. However, so far what I'm reading is just for Berlin. I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark. Most of you guys know by now that I highly recommend using a VPN anytime you use public Wi-Fi. However, it can be very useful at home as well. Sadly, the problem is that many people are totally oblivious to the fact that nowadays, many companies online are using commercial targeting and tracking. The good news, a VPN can protect you from just that. Hands down though, one of my favorite features has to be the ability to make it look like your IP address is coming from a different country. Why? This is awesome if you want to stream a video from a specific location. Surfshark is also my choice because it's the only VPN to allow one account for an unlimited number of devices, and the user interface is clean and very easy to navigate. And if I had to guess, your favorite part of Surfshark might just be the clean web feature that blocks ads, targeting, and nefarious websites so you can browse the web in peace. If you'd like, you can use my code ELECTRIFIED to get 83% off and 3 extra months free. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is literally no risk to try it for yourself. Link is in the description below. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and thanks to all of you for supporting the channel. From the Federal Register, essentially we have NHTSA saying they are going to be gathering information and input from the public on if people would want to transition from traditional side view mirrors to using a camera-only system. In summary, the proposed new collection of information supports research addressing safety-related aspects of drivers' use of camera-based rear visibility systems intended to serve as a replacement for traditional outside rear view mirrors. Written comments should be submitted before April 13th. The research will involve information collection through participant screening questions and post-drive questionnaires. However, the primary type of info to be collected in this research is objective data consisting of video and engineering data recorded as participants experience a camera-based rear visibility system in an instrumented study vehicle. I will link this below if you'd like to read more, and personally my feelings about this, I might be alone. I'm not really in favor of it, at least not yet. I prefer the traditional side view mirrors. They work well. Sure, you might get a little bit better coefficient of drag without them, but is it worth it to then introduce new challenges where cameras might be laggy? They could be dirty. They're just more prone to issues that the traditional side view mirrors are not, and you have noise with camera images. And then what about at night when it's dark and the lighting situation isn't ideal, or when it's raining or snowing? So I don't know, maybe I'd have to see the implementation and maybe it could be better, but my initial thought is let's stick with the traditional side view mirrors for now. A quick update from Marquez on the Giga Berlin delivery event. It looks like the event is still on March 22nd and is set to be held officially from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. with festivities. However, the actual delivery day could start at 9 a.m. and there's supposed to be a quote big show, and we'll still get the first 30 Model Y performance deliveries to customers. The fresh Model Ys off the line will officially be handed to customers from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. to the music of their choice. However, they won't be allowed to drive them until later in the day after 3 p.m. There's supposed to be a brief address from key decision makers for the permitting progress, and Elon Musk will possibly be there at the event. It's also being reported that around 4,000 people will attend the event. We've also learned there's a you-know-what outbreak in Shanghai that is severe and many factories have been shut down. Remember, China has a zero-tolerance policy with regard to this situation. They did say we've learned the Tesla factory in Shanghai is not shut down, only that employees have to undergo nucleic acid testing before they can go to work. Gary Black added this situation has caused one of Apple's suppliers, Foxconn, to temporarily halt production, and the restrictions are set to be in place until March 20th. Something to keep an eye on for sure, but hopefully it will not affect Giga Shanghai. The Tesla wall connector has dropped in price. Previously it was $550, now $495. Over the weekend, there was drone footage of the refreshed Model S and X showing up at Giga Shanghai. Now there is an event coming up, the China International New Energy Vehicle Forum, on March 24th and 25th. It could be part of why these vehicles are there for that event. And if we go to the website for this very event from 2021, and you scroll down, you will see that to be invited, Tesla is indeed on the list. And more importantly, if we go back to what Elon has said about the Model S Plaid coming to China, Elon said back in November last year, probably around March, well, here we are, so this is a good sign. Some people out there were asking if these were actually built at Giga Shanghai. My initial answer would be no, I'm pretty confident these are imported from Fremont. Probably some of the biggest news over the weekend, we have a new Model Y coming to the United States. What is this vehicle? Well, it's an all-wheel drive version with 279 miles of total range. If you recall, Tesla used to have a rear-wheel drive Model Y that got about 244 miles of range. Essentially, Elon said that wasn't enough, so it was an off-the-menu item for a while, and then they stopped making it altogether. Now we might be getting something similar, however, in an all-wheel drive version. So what's going on here? Well, let's run through all of my thoughts, and then we can come to a conclusion together. First of all, to those of you thinking this might be the 4680s in an LFP chemistry, I would like to remind you of what Drew Baglino and Elon said on the Q4 call about this very topic. To the question about should everything be 4680, Drew Baglino said, when you compare like an iron cell LFP with a nickel cell, for example, there are just some physics-based differences in what happens in certain corner cases that would drive different form factors, and we just have to be cognizant of that and design to that, so it isn't like the ultimate form factor for all things, that being 4680. Elon then adds, yeah, we don't use 4680 at all for the iron upgrade cells. Iron upgrade LFP, Drew Baglino confirms saying no. In the long run, I definitely think this will change. However, for now, I'm going under the assumption there are no 4680 LFP cells for Tesla, not yet. Next up, the Model Y obviously is bigger than the Model 3, and that means it's heavier. Also, for Tesla, historically, all-wheel drive has been less efficient than rear-wheel drive. So knowing that, if Tesla was going to use the same LFP battery pack on the Model 3, on the Model Y, it theoretically would get less range on the Model Y. However, that's not what we're seeing with the EPA data. Here is the Model 3 rear-wheel drive coming in at 272 miles of range. So if you took that same LFP pack and put it in the Model Y, it would presumably get less than 272 miles of range, but we're seeing 279. And yes, many other things are changing. This new Model Y is going to be lighter than the prior versions, given the casting and other efficiencies, but it's still going to be heavier than the Model 3. I would add though, it could be a different LFP pack, more of a structural variety that ultimately yields more range. So what do we know about these Model Ys coming from Austin? A source has confirmed that all of them that you see outside are actually built with 4680 cells. Of course, Tesla wants to maximize the vehicles it can produce with its current limited supply of 4680s. So what does this mean? Well, ultimately, less cells per vehicle means Tesla can make more vehicles. And Tesla could still have a chance to produce good margins given the cost reductions of the 4680 form factor paired with any new chemistries and more advancements. And the big one, having less 4680s per pack would of course be a way to offset typically starting a factory with the higher margin performance-based variants. And of course, a car with less range means more vehicles with the same battery supply. And we have seen some cars out of Austin with the aero wheels, not the performance wheels, which would lend some credibility to that thought process. However, we also know that 4680s are mostly for longer range, higher performance vehicles. They're gonna need all they can get for the Semi, the Roadster, Model Y Performance, Model Y Long Range. So would they really use that limited supply of 4680s for a lower range Model Y? I mean, maybe Tesla could switch the lines in Fremont over to this new standard range pack using LFP cells, and then at Austin focus on the performance and long range versions with the new 4680 and structural pack. And my last thought on this for now is that orders are not yet open for this new variant. So if we're expecting first deliveries out of Giga Austin in the next few weeks, presumably if this was going to be the vehicle coming out of Austin, the order page would be open for it, which is part of the reason why I could see Tesla switching over some of the Fremont lines for this new variant. Ultimately though, as you can tell, your guess as to what Tesla is doing under the hood is probably as good as mine, so let me know what you think about this new Tesla model. And remember, the only thing that really matters here to most of the public is that Tesla may pretty soon have a Model Y getting 280 miles of range for around $50,000. This will sell like hotcakes. Moving on, we got some new comments from Panasonic's CEO of their energy division, Kazuo Tadanobu. He said the 4680 development process has taken an immense amount of stamina and that changing the cell's shape required considerable nerve. This all while Panasonic really had no idea how Tesla would feel about its version of the company's 4680s. If you needed confirmation, this line should give it to you that Tesla is keeping some some level of proprietary tech for the chemistry in the new 4680 form factor. The good news here, Tesla has taken notice of Panasonic's work on the new cells, and the electric automaker has already reportedly called them viable. So from these comments, it seems like Tesla is happy with Panasonic's progress of its 4680s for Tesla. So far today, looking at our sustainable watch list, everything currently in the red, NASDAQ down about 1.7, and Tesla right at its 2 beta down 3.5%. It's always good to compare Tesla's performance with the other EV automakers, specifically here in the States, Tesla holding up a little bit better. NIO, XPeng, and Li, however, all getting crushed down double digits. And there's some extra uncertainty this week as we're expected to get an update on interest rates from the Fed on Wednesday. Here we have Ford announcing big expansion plans in Europe and a deeper partnership with Volkswagen. So we're talking 3 new passenger EVs and 4 new commercial EVs in Europe by 2024, and Ford expecting to sell over 600,000 EVs per year in the region by 2026. This move expected to start in 2023 with the production of a medium-sized electric crossover in Cologne, Germany. Ford has also signed a non-binding memorandum of understanding with South Korea's SK and a Turkish company, this relating to the establishment of a joint venture centered around the development of a commercial EV battery facility near the Turkish capital of Ankara. If all goes well, production at the plant could begin by the middle of this decade, and eventually it's expected to produce 30 to 45 gigawatt hours per year. And we know that at least 2 of these new electric SUVs for Ford will be based on Volkswagen's MEB platform. However, Ford has yet to confirm either of these vehicles for the United States market, but we would assume that eventually it will, because the ID4, which is based on the MEB, started in Europe but is now going to be built in Tennessee. So if Volkswagen is taking that route, Ford might follow suit. And we have Ford announcing a new electric university, and it's exactly what it sounds like, a program with in-person classes built to train Ford dealerships on everything electric vehicles and charging. But there aren't any details or any timelines given for this new push. That'll do it for today. Don't forget, check out Surfshark, linked in the description below, for 83% off and 3 months free. Please like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.